for internationalization in education to nurture you as an expert in each major.
Korea achieved both economic growth and democratization in just 40 years.
A cultural program designed to build bridges between the youth of South Africa and the Republic of Korea. We're incredibly proud to host this event right here in South Africa and to see such a diverse group of passionate, talented, and curious young leaders in the room today. First and foremost, I would like to extend our deepest gratitude to the incredible team of the Embassy of the Republic of Korea in South Africa and the Korean Culture Center who made this event possible. Let us give them a round of applause.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
I warmly welcome the students and the teachers.
And know more about South Korea outside of what you might have seen on popular media. Korea is a peninsula geographically located between China and Japan. South Korea is the world's 8th largest exporter. But before we go into great detail of what some of the things that South Korea exports, can you guess some famous Korean brands? And I feel like you should be able to guess them because some of them were mentioned in the previous presentation and opening remarks. Of the well-known Korean brands, we also have LG. The other ones you've already mentioned. That's good. All right, so let's talk about the Korean wave before we dive very deep into the history and the culture. So the Korean entertainment industry has blew up in recent years, and this has happened through movies, TV dramas, and pop music, which have grown in popularity outside of Asia into other continents as well, South Africa included. So here what we have is that different shows and different K-pop groups. So we have TWICE for those who are girly pops and who are into girl groups. Then we've got my fave, my entry into K-pop, my 7 husbands. We have BTS. I'm a military wife right now, but it's gonna end soon in June when they come out of the military. So I'm waiting and hoping. And then we have, in terms of movies, we've got Train to Busan, we've got Parasite. I think I've watched Parasite about 3 times. It is such a good movie, and if you see it, you'll be able to also draw a lot of parallels to some of the realities in South Africa, and also the gap between the haves and the have-not, and just the different realities that people can live in a single country. Then we have Squid Games. Again, I am patiently waiting for the 3rd season. And I also mentioned here, other shows like Boys Over Flowers. I've also listed Blackpink, who listened to some of their music just now, and 80s. I had to put 80s there because I recently went to see them in concert in March. So I was in Korea and I was there, dancing and doing the things. I was tempted to include some videos, but I didn't want to make this presentation about me. So let's look at education, because that's one of the main reasons why we're here. All right, so the education system in Korea, or education systems in Korea, are governed by the Ministry of Education, or equivalent to, I would say, the Department of Education and basic education for those that are not necessarily in university as yet. Schools can be national or public, which is about 70% of the schools there, and they can also be private, which is about 30%. And I know in South Africa we usually have public and private schools, and then we have those in the middle that are referred to as like former Model C schools. And then in terms of ages and their associated grades, so they're divided up in this particular manner. In 2022, Korea revised its curriculum to cultivate basic digital skills as core competencies for future generations. You guys are future generations. These revisions align with new industrial technological innovations such as AI and software development, linking these to classroom teaching improvement and evaluations. This decision thus lays the foundation for cultivating digital basic skills through all curricular education and linking it with informatics curriculum in schools. So basically introducing some of these technologies very earlier on in a student's educational journey. However, Ms. Naria will present more about studying in Korea and the Korean education system in greater detail. So let's go to my favorite part. So I love history. Right, so I did history in high school, I did it in university. Had I not become a lawyer, I probably would have been a world-renowned historian by now. But I digress. So let's look at Korean history briefly. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna try to look at different time periods as listed on this particular table. Look at the Go-Joseon era. So here King Daegun established Go-Joseon in 2333 BC. And then we'll move on to the Three Kingdoms. If you are a K-drama watcher, specifically period dramas, you will see that there are a lot of K-dramas that focus on the Goryeo dynasty that I've seen quite a number of. But before we get there were other kingdoms and geographical divisions of the country that predated that one. So we then had the first one, which I promise I practiced multiple times, Goryeo, right? Kingdom. Then we had, you won't be able to see it now because it's written in white, as Bakje and then Shilla. And if you are, yay! Thank you. And again, if you are a dedicated period drama watcher, you will also see some K-dramas, historical or period dramas that also focus on, the Shilla dynasty or the kingdom or that particular time period. All right, let's go to Joseon. Again, if you're a period drama watcher like myself, because I love history, there are also a lot of Korean dramas that focus or are set during the Joseon dynasty. So the Joseon dynasty expanded its territory boundary up to the Yalu River in the north. Currently, that river divides North Korea and China, so it's further up north. Confucianism was promoted by the government, and the Korean alphabet was invented. So if you've been here, you'll see we have the King Sejong Institute. I used to go for Korean classes there and stuff like that. So there's a reason, there's a historical link and tie to why the institute is called the King Sejong Institute. The fourth King, Sejong, brought many innovations to government, most famously Hangul. You would have seen it in an earlier slide, which is the Korean alphabet. The Korean phonetic alphabet. So a visual aid to kind of see what the outcome and the result of the said decision and division at that particular conference looked like. And then we move on to the Korean War. North Korea invaded the South by launching a surprise attack on the 25th of June in 1950. The United Nations forces led by the US defended South Korea. Right? An Armistice agreement was signed by the UN, North Korea, China in 1958. So this agreement is similar. It's like an agreement where if parties or countries are fighting, they come together, they sign, they say let's play nice, let's make peace, let's stop the fighting, in simple terms. But because of the war, many Koreans lost or got separated from their family members on both sides. Right. But you might think it was just a civil war. Civil wars happen all the time. No. The Korean War was not just a simple war, right? It was, in fact, a proxy war. What is a proxy war? Okay, so here is when two superpowers, whom usually have two different ideologies, fight a limited war, a proxy war in a third party or in another country, so not in their own country. And this has happened in many other countries. It happens a lot in the Middle East, I will use that term. It also happens a lot in African countries such as Angola, right? So this is what was happening in Korea with the Korean War, whereby you had the USA and the Soviet Union fighting a limited war in a third country, and the third country being South Korea, or being Korea. And China emerged as a significant military power during the war. This was the first war in which the United Nations participated. You might be shocked, like, oh, how? But I thought history tells us otherwise. The support base was in Japan, which helped rapid industrial expansion and the economic growth of Japan. So what was the impact? Like the real life human beings, not just people on spreadsheets, not just military tactics, but actual Korean citizens. What did that look like for them, right? So there was a KBS TV show looking for displaced families. At first, it was just gonna be like a one-day special program that was gonna air, talk about, the impact, and the separation and division of families. However, it continued until November, and over 50,000 families appeared, and over 10,000 families found lost ones. And I think these pictures or these stills from this program just shows you the real human impact in terms of what that proxy war resulted in and how it led to the separation of families and the loss of lives. And the loss of civilian and military lives range above like millions of lives that were lost. So it was a devastating loss to the Korean people. Okay, then we move on to modern Korea, because things do improve and things do get better. Then we had economic development plans and technological advancements began after the military coup in 1961. And you might be thinking, military coup? Korean history is rich and is extensive, so there are parts in which I didn't dive into, because I would need like a 4-hour lecture, and I used to lecture in my past life, so you don't want to tempt me with a 4-hour lecture, because I will do it. So South Korea is now a developed country, and it had one of the world's fastest growing economies from the early 60s to the late 1990s, again just showing and proving just the resilience of the Korean people to stick together and overcome all the different things as we went through the timeline that have happened in the country. The growth surge was achieved by concentrating on labor-intensive manufactured exports. And in 2017, the Korean GDP was ranked at number 11 in the world. So do you see how, given everything I've just outlined, again, this just shows the resilience of how when people come together with a common purpose and a common goal, they can push forward. Korea has been a democracy since 1998. Again, I could give a 4-hour lecture. There are certain time periods that I skipped. And I think it also got cut because below the table there was the Seoul Olympic, and then there are other timelines that I had included. But yeah. Let's look at Korean culture. And I think it's very important for us to talk about Korean culture, because when we look at the history that I've just showed, the Korean War, the proxy war, Japanese rule, assimilation policies, the attempt to erase Korean culture, we need to focus on how Koreans were able to preserve their culture and what that culture is.
Please join us on the stage for a group photo. 감사합니다. Thank you, everyone.
The phone must eat first.
Yeah, I'm shocked.
I'm gonna go to Henry's. I just want to quickly show you guys my gift from the Korean embassy. Hopefully they've got space because I didn't make a booking. Okay, so I found a spot to sit. I don't know if the lighting is going to be great because there's light coming from behind me. But yeah, again, A huge goodie bag in the Korean embassy. I'll go through what's in here later, but already what I see is this. Like a plan. Ooh! The executive note over the strap. Come on now. Wow. Ooh. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'll do this when I get home. Put this away. I'll show you guys everything when I get home. Thank you so much.